physics, science, biology.
Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I'm going to look at this recent installation I did, an installation called the Uncanny Valley of Breath. And the project looks at the biases in current AI natural language processing, and also how we might think about how the sonic signature of breath can extend into the new and emerging modalities and technology we're developing in machine learning and AI. The artist talk centers on the subtle energies and the sonics of breath, which is used to materialize the difference between human and machine voice. The flow of human and artificial breath patterns highlights the divide between the analog and the digital, or more specifically between human and machine recognition of the subtleties of breath. Uncanny Valley of Breath draws attention to the themes of human responsibility in design ethics in AI, and how this machine discrimination resides in the shape of breath, shining light on the delicate bias hidden within speech recognition, the uncanny valley created by breath. This installation highlights machine bias by contrasting human and AI-generated speech using video projections of spectrograms, visual representations of audio frequencies that illustrate fluctuations in sound and breath, which trigger walls of PC fans to turn on and off in a way that mimics a sensation of breath and makes a difference between human and machine perception, both visible and palatable. The very life-giving element of breath emanating from the human body is quite literally a site of knowledge production for artificial intelligences and machine learning. UVOB addresses how breath acts as a bridge between the analog and the digital, and contrasts the felt experience of human and machine models of breathing. So a little anatomy. The respiratory and voice-producing systems are naturally closely connected, as speech requires close coordination of the larynx and the upper and lower airway systems. Breathing is one of our most crucial functions and is central to health. It's the foundation of movement, health, and well-being. Breathing affects the entire body. It's got a significant role in ensuring that allostasis, achieving homeostasis, is maintained, as well as being involved in the postural stability and mobility of the trunk and spine. Coordination between the larynx, or the voice box, and the lower airway is essential for normal voice production. The larynx is located at the top of the neck and is essential for breathing, vocalizing, as well as ensuring your lunch doesn't get stuck in the trachea and cause choking. The larynx contains a pair of vocal folds or cords, and when you bring them together on an out-breath, they beat together hundreds of times per second, creating sound, your distinct voice. Breath can be understood as an extension of our body, along with heat and smell and so on. I first heard Philip Beasley use the term extimacy when he was talking over here about his phyloxilic ground installation series. The term extimacy is a portmanteau which blends the exterior and intimacy. And in doing this, it highlights the notion of separation between body and its outside. And this dynamic margin draws attention to sensations of familiarity and strangeness, highlighting a complementary way of understanding the liminal space between interior and exterior, and mind, body, psyche, identity, and culture. Extimacy was coined by Lacan. For Lacan, extimacy expressed the opposition between inside and outside, between the container and the contained. It's this aspect of breath moving between the inside of our body and the outside of our body, extending the senses and our body's edge beyond flesh, which connects Uncanny Valley of Breath with the themes of this symposium, embodying and expanding beyond the skin, and also human-machine relationship, as we look to ways in which human and AI intelligence creates new ecologies of creative practice. As we move towards more embodied forms of working with AI, then ways our relationship with the machine, as well as networks of others, this blurs the line between our insides and outsides, as well as human and machine. Breath is being used more and more as a way of interacting with AIs. For example, Breathing AI, a commercially available app, says that detecting your heart rate and breathing rate in real time. It measures your heart and breath rate by detecting the change in color on your forehead and under your eyes. And then it prompts you to take a short break from the computer in the form of a guided breathing exercise, meditation, or seated body movement to calm and center yourself. Don't know where the data from that goes though, which is a little bit blurry for me at this stage. A relationship between Parkinson's disease and breathing was noted as early as 1817 by Dr. James Parkinson. A new neural network developed by MIT PhD students Yuzi Yang and postdoc Yu Yang and published in Nature in August this year assesses whether or not someone has Parkinson's from their nocturnal breathing. The neural network can discern the severity of somebody's Parkinson's disease and track the progression of their disease over time. The essence of the uncanny valley of breath is contrast, both between human and machine, as well as between the apparently minute nuances of breathing and the magnitude of its impact upon machine interlocutors. In this installation, the audience enters a dimly lit room containing 2 banks of computer fans. The banks are imposing, they're 6 meters long and 2.5 meters high, with the fans arranged in a grid reminiscent of pixels. The user sees a touchscreen which has a series of pre-selected phrases on it. These phrases have been analysed and visualised as a spectrum and are projected onto the fan wall facing the user. A similar projection appears on the opposite bank, showing the spectrogram representation of an inbuilt AI or machine version of the utterance. As the spectrogram is overlaid on the fans, the interactive system generates a downsampled version to fit the resolution of the fan wall in such a way that the fans in sections of high energy will spin, while fans in darker lacunas will spin minimally or not at all. The spectrograms are visualized in such a way as to enhance the distinctions between the human voice utterance and the machine-generated one, with the fans similarly serving to magnify the impact of distinctions by generating airflow, a breath, in the space. UVOB was shown at the Science Gallery in Dublin from the October last year to February this year. It's now sadly closed before it's moved to Dublin's Centre for AI-Driven Content Technology, ADAPT. While the overall concept of bias can be applied to a range of technologies across the world, this particular piece highlights the differences in Irish accents and pronunciation. Speech recognition technologies suffer from the lack of data sets and resources, providing a diverse range of accents, creating errors or misunderstandings when using technologies such as Alexa or Siri. This is particularly true for Ireland with its wide range of very different accents. The installation highlights how this machine discrimination resides in the various ways in which air is expelled or inhaled when talking through Irish voices, which is also the core of speech diversity. Uncanny Valley of Breath is a collaboration between me and Francis Premiatis Kala Ayun and ADAPT Centre researchers Cormac English and Ed Story. Kala and I practices cross the boundaries between art, science and design, and we found a mutual interest in the intersection between breath and technology, which aligned with Cormac and Ed's own research in the field of automatic speech recognition. Specifically, Cormac is concerned with exploring possible accommodations of accents within the ASR systems, while Ed investigates bias existing in ASR systems, with current research focusing on accented English. Bias is a lens that distorts how we understand the world, warping our perception of reality in ways that are often unconscious and deeply ingrained. Bias in AI arises from the way AI is designed and trained. The process of selection and data sets, what to include or exclude, and organization, the creation of labels, hierarchies, and taxonomies, is deeply subjective and political, reflective of both one's cultural and individual biases. And you'll see why this is important in relationship to breath in a moment. Machine learning systems can replicate and strengthen existing human biases. They're also prone to unique forms of machine bias. Algorithmic processes are bound by the limits of computation, and as such, that which is not machine readable or cannot be captured in ones and zeros will be inscrutable or discarded or averaged out by machine intelligence. In Uncanny Valley of Breath, we wanted to explore the breakdown in communications between human and machines that occur in speech recognition technology, and how human vocalization and machine learning were affected by our breath. There are countless variations to human speech, from different languages and dialects to regional accents and pronunciation, and virtual assistants like Siri, Alexa, or Google Home often struggle to understand speech that differs from the examples we've been trained on. Breath is a key factor in the subtle nuances of language, giving shape to vowels and consonants, cadence and tonality through hundreds of micro-exhalations and inhalations. While an AI can't understand your accent, it might seem like a bit of an amusing inconvenience. For example, the Scottish Elevator voice recognition 11 clip. When such technology is used to screen job applications, process insurance claims, or provide telemedicine support, it starts to lose its humour. Bias is especially harmful when embedded within institutions of power and social governance, where it extends beyond the individual and becomes the operational logic of a larger system, resulting in discrimination against entire social groups that ends up producing or compounding inequality. Natural language processing, artificial intelligence, speech technology are all buzzwords in AI now. People are asking about what exactly NLP, or natural language processing, is. So, NLP makes machines process, understand, and generate natural language, or the language that humans speak. When you're interacting with a bot by ringing the inland revenue, your bank, or booking a holiday, talking to Alexa or Siri on your phone, it's natural language processing that drives the technology. NLP works by being trained on vast amounts of data. The data about how humans actually use language has been processed by certain algorithms that enable the AIs to learn the patterns of the natural language of humans. When we talk to a machine, we don't provide it with polished packets of information that it can analyze. Instead, we send it a chaotic bundle of vibrating air that must be searched for recognizable patterns. For an AI trained in NLP, the way humans breathe when talking is useless. It's an undecipherable complexity. Uncanny Valley of Breath strips away all of the processing that machines do to show us the variety in human speech in its most basic form, as a visualization of frequencies extracted from our speech, projected onto walls of spinning fans, simulating the airflow that generated them. What we wanted to show with UVOB was how the data that a lot of these AI algorithms are trained on is not representative of the people it's trying to represent. We show that even with one sentence that a lot of people would hear as being functionally identical, there's a massive amount of deviation in the actual data that's coming in. You'll see this particularly in the next couple of slides. Spectrograms are used by speech recognition researchers to analyze the micro complexities of human speech, such as tone, phonetic variation, pauses, and cadences during speech, and compare them to AI-generated words. A spectrogram is a visual representation, like a heat map of the range of frequencies of a signal over time. At this installation, we connect people with each other and the AI by comparing large-scale projected spectrograms of the same word, one belonging to the machine, the other to the audience. This visually highlights the shape of breath and the bias hidden within AI speech recognition. The uncanny valley of breath shows the vulnerabilities of an AI through the subtle boundaries in human speech. Breath is, for an AI, inefficient, and it needs to be averaged out. Digging into natural language processing more with Ed and Cormac, we found that AI is taught to recognize sounds, not words. So we asked the question, what does the breadth of sound look like? This became the fulcrum for the next stage of the project, trying to imagine what an AI's breath would be like. If it is replicating a human voice, then does an AI reproduce a breath? And what does that mean for a machine? It's a facsimile of breath. However, breath isn't silence. It's an inhale, an exhale, a micro pause and data for an AI, but not silence. We've started looking at spectrograms in a different way now, kind of reversing in some ways the areas that we wanted to emphasize. So for us, this gap between speech became the focal point of what we wanted to emphasize. It shows the difference between the machines and humans starkly. Machines and AI don't, indeed they can't, breathe.
So basically the way it's out at the moment, I can give it any word, so I could throw in hello, so it's going to give me a second. Hello. Okay, so there's the synthesized version of hello, and here's mine. You can kind of spot the difference there a little bit.
We realized that we could go smaller and use a grid on the spectrograms that we could map to a DMX controller, and that we could control motors like on fan, and we used MadMapper to do this to start with. I'd remembered seeing When the Wind Blows by Raymond Briggs as a play, and there was the nuclear explosion scene, and the scenographer dropped these huge fans down and blasted the audience with light and moving air. And so that kind of led to the idea of actually us using fans. And so the very first sketch of the whole installation looked like this by Carlotta, but we ended up actually using these kind of fans. Okay, there we go. And there's the show, and we get to the end there.
Thank you so much for staying awake. It was great.
Okay.